Okay, so in this game, or this lesson, we're going to be taking a look, or rather this homework, we're going to be taking a look at a couple of things. Making sure that we understand the calculation that we use to stay on screen, making sure we understand the wraparound feature, which we're going to implement today, and also the chameleon idea, which is that we're going to change the shape or change the color of our player color when it's moving. Great. Yes, perfect. Okay. So, and then we can also do this as well, which is to change the area that our bullets shoot outside of from. I mean, if we understand all of this, we should understand a little bit more about boundaries, which is really important. So this is why we use player width for the right side, but not for the left side. So take a look. Right. When our game goes to the left, it stops. When our game goes to the right, so you can't see it, but when our game goes to the right, it stops. Up, it stops. If we go down, it also stops. Right, you can see that quite clearly. Let me move my face. There we go. Okay, perfect. So if you look at our code for this, it's right here. Now, what's important to understand is this part here, this entire left side of the shape is X. This entire top side is Y. That's really important to understand. Why? Why is it important to understand? Because that's where our logic is triggering. So you can see if the X position, which is right here, if this is less than 0, then player X is going to be equal to 0, which is going to be equal to this line here. So it never goes past. However, if I write, for example, 50, you're going to see that we're going to be able to go past the X boundary. Can you see? Oh, but now I can't use left and right. Yeah, very interesting. Oh, okay. Let's use 10 maybe. There we go. Less than, oh, it should be 50. Sorry, it should be minus 50. That's why. This should be 0. That was the issue. There we go. Try again. So we go to the left now. You can see we can go a little bit further until we can't. So here what it's doing is it's saying if the X coordinate of the player is less than minus 50, which is when it's triggering, which is when it's teleporting, then we're going to set player X to 0, which is right there. That's 0, right? You can see 0 is where it touches the left side. So that's why we use 0 here, right? Because basically what we want to say when the left side is less than 0, even by 1 pixel, we're going to move it back to 0 so that it never goes past that left side. But since player X starts on the left side, but not on the right side, if we use only player X for this side here, let's say we'll set this to just width, like so. If we use this right here, which is if player X is greater than width, then player X will be the width. This is what's going to happen. Look. We can go past, oh, sorry, you can't see that. We can go past the boundary, like so. But we want it to trigger at this point, not trigger here, because it does trigger, technically, it does trigger. How do I know it triggers? Well, let's set this right here to be width. Minus 100, why not? Okay, now you can see it triggering. Watch this. Can you see it triggers? Now it triggers when this here, this left side, is past width minus 100. Like so. That's when it's triggering. Right there. Right there. Right there again. Right there again. Good. Okay. So we want to change this. Right? Because we want to take in consideration the player width. So what do? Well, we say when the player X is greater than the width, take away the player width. Then we're gonna let's put this as something a little bit like 300, just so we can really see it. Now look what happens. As soon as it touches, player X is 300, which means it goes back to the middle. But now what we want to do is not go back to the middle, but we want to go back to as far right as it can go with that trigger again, which is going to be 0, or rather 600, right? 600 minus the player width. So we can use the same thing again. Now, if you don't understand that again, that's fine. I told you the lesson is difficult. It is difficult. It took me a little bit of time to understand this too. But what we're doing here is basically making sure that we take into account the size of the player X, or the size of the player, which is important. Good. Now, the next thing we're going to do is the wraparound. So we're going to say if player X is greater than width, set player X to minus player width, or just player width. And if player X is less than player width, then set player X to width. Okay. And we're only doing this on the left side. Left or right side, right? On the X coordinate. Okay, let's do that. So what I should say is if player X is less than 0, fine, then player X should then be, well, I guess player width, take width. Okay, so this makes sense. There we go. Let's try that. Let's see if this works. Okay, great. It works on that side. So the left side is fine. Now what do we have to do here? We have to say if the player X is greater than the width minus player, then player X is, or yes, player X, the X position of the player, should then be, would it be 0? I think it might be 0. Let's try 0. Yes, let's see if that works. Okay, good. Yeah, you can see that works, right? So now it just goes to the other side, which is fine, which is what we wanted. Great. Now the next thing we're going to do is chameleonship, which will be super easy. So all we're going to do here is when we are moving, so this is here, okay, so we need to add something else. Like excellent. Matter of fact, let's actually spread this all out so that it's not a list comprehension, it's a conditional statement. Okay, good. There we go. Now what can we say? We can say something like this. We can say it moves. We also need to change the color here. So if we look at the player width, where's player width? Or player color? Did we define a player color? Where did we define it? Oh, we did not define the color. Okay, so in that case, let's change something a little bit. So we're gonna add player color here. Player color is equal to white. See, it's white right now. So now we're going to use this right here. And that's still going to be white. I should double check. Yes, it's still white. So now when we are moving, we're going to say player color is equal to red. Right? Good. And this should only activate when we're moving. But it doesn't activate. It doesn't go back to white, which is what we want. So maybe we can write this player color white inside of this while loop. And actually, if we do this, and then it will just keep rewriting every time it happens. So let's do that. There we go. Can you see now it just flashes? Yeah, good. So you can do the same thing right here too, right here, and right here. And that should now flash red when you're moving, which is pretty cool. Doesn't do anything when you're shooting though, which is fine. I don't really want it to do anything when you're shooting, but you can change that if you want to, or you can at least try to change it if you want to. Now, right here for bullets. If you think the bullets are too big, and I think they're huge, so I am going to change them. I'm going to make them like maybe 3. Let's see if 3 works. There we go. I think this is a much more appropriate size for bullets to be. There we go. Perfect. So this is really good. And yeah, we're going to continue this in the next lesson. I think that should be everything. That's task 3. Task 4. Oh, task 4. Take a look at this. The bullet spawns at this position. What happens if we just spawn out player X? Okay, let's take a look. So I think it's right. Player bullet start append. Where's bullet start append? Right here. So if we do just player X, what happens? Well, it's the same as the boundary issue, right? It's going to spawn at the right or left side, right here, because we haven't taken into consideration the width of the player. So if we wanted it to be on the right side, we would just do player X plus player width. Now that would be on the right side. There we go. If we want to be on the left side, it's just player X. Here. So what do we do if we put it in the middle? Well, we use player height, or player width rather. But we need to divide by 2, like so. There we go. That's it. Super easy. So that homework, that is a homework for this week. I know it's a little bit difficult. I know this is a little bit difficult, and I know you guys will struggle with this, but even if you mess up, when I give you homework, I'm not expecting you guys to be perfect at it. I'm expecting you guys to actually mess up a few times and maybe make a little bit of a mess of the code. That's fine. If you make a big mess of the code, I'll be super happy because it shows that you tried. So if you can't understand this, that's okay. It's a difficult idea, especially this boundary idea. It is difficult. And you have to be able to like use your brain in a way that understands space, which can be quite difficult, especially for young children, such as everyone watching this video. But give it a go, and the more you do it, the more you understand it. And in fact, think about this. Do you know how to make a pen? Let's put it here. Do you know how to make this pen? I don't, and you don't. But, well, we can all use a pen. So think of it in the same way. You don't need to understand how the pen's made. You just need to understand that, oh, if I click this and I write, ink comes out and I can write words. The same way with this. You just need to know, oh, well, if I wanted to go past the boundary or not go past the boundary, I need to make sure I add in the player width. That's all you got to understand. That's fine. If you understand that and you don't understand how it works in super big detail, that's fine too. But yes, that's everything for today. I'll see you guys in the next lesson. Have fun and have a wonderful, wonderful week, whatever week it is when you're watching this video. And I'll see you guys very soon. Goodbye.